So we want to understand what this means, why Russia is being aggressive in Africa, what the effect of that aggression will be on us here in Ghana, if any, and what needs to be done to ensure that nobody loses out as a result of this. So to help us with this, we've got an international relations expert from GIMPA to join us. He's in the person of Dr. Ishmael Hlovor. He joins us via Zoom. Dr. Hlovor, what a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners too.
Now, I think we've established what Wagner is. It's a private army that is closely connected to the Kremlin, to the Russian government. But why does Russia even want a presence in ECOWAS, particularly these ECOWAS countries where you will find them today?
Okay, thank you. The truth is that it has been an ambition of the Russian leader, Putin, to revive the Soviet Union that collapsed in the early 90s. So for him, that was a geostrategic mistake that needs to be reversed. So he's seeking global influence not only in Africa, but also across the world. Particularly in Africa, it is easy for Russia because one, Russia has no colonial past or legacy that hunts its expansion in Africa. And two, he is able to target very weak regimes or very weak states with undemocratic government structures who are suffering from a lot of violence, particularly terrorism and insurgency. And that provides a very fertile ground for him to have a foothold in those countries. And three, there is abundance of resources in those countries that Russia can tap into. And so for the resource and for Russia, the leader's own ambition of reviving somewhat the prestige of Russia standing in the international community that was lost when the Soviet Union collapsed, as well as diplomatic support within international organizations like the United Nations. Russia sees West Africa, for that matter Africa, as a place where it can draw back some of the lost friends when the Soviet Union collapsed. So these are the dynamics at play for Russia to want to be within our sovereignty.
Is it a coincidence that the three countries that have announced their intention to leave ECOWAS, all three of them have Wagner present in their borders? Is it a coincidence?
It is not, because if you look at the reason why some of these coups have happened in these three countries, one of it is anti-Western sentiment. The feeling that even with Western troops on their shores, they have not been able to achieve much, and that they are being looted of their resources. It is the common logic of most African leaders that the solution to Western influence is Easternization. Well, we believe that if the West is not helping us, then we have to look it. But that is actually not the solution. The solution to Westernization cannot be Easternization. It is rather Africanization. So you see that these countries are looking at it from the perspective that if they can pull out of ECOWAS, then they can negotiate any form of deal they want to negotiate with the Russians. For instance, if you are within ECOWAS, there are certain rules that bind you from importing certain arms. So if you want to import certain arms, all the other members have to know. But outside ECOWAS, you're able to do any deal that that you want to do. So it may be a game that they are playing, but it may also be a diplomatic strategy to get ECOWAS to the negotiating table, because they thought that they have been negotiating with ECOWAS and they are not getting a solution. Last Thursday, it was unfortunate that a technical fault on the plane that's supposed to carry the ECOWAS delegation didn't allow the planned meeting with Niger to happen. So when these delays are happening and they are beginning to flow the pressure of the ECOWAS sanctions, so if you look at some of these countries under ECOWAS sanctions, they are virtually having problems with their economy, where essential commodities like medicine are in short supply. So here, what it is that it may well be a strategy to get ECOWAS to the negotiating table. So when you see that they announce their withdrawal, of course, you don't withdraw for international organizations like that. There are formal processes of withdrawal. So, and they have not triggered those processes, but they announce their withdrawal. Of course, these are military regimes, so sometimes the way they do things may be quite different. But it may well be a strategy to get ECOWAS to act faster in order to get them some relief. So it is good that the ECOWAS Commission issued a statement that they are going to engage diplomatically, and that may be the only solution to this one, because it will be difficult to deal with them outside the ECOWAS framework. Indeed, if you look at the group, what they are virtually providing for most African states is regime stability, in the sense that they always look after the security of the president involved, and occasionally then they take on the terrorist group. But most often, when you look at it carefully, this group is more concerned about the stability of the regime that brought them in. So, and normally when you move away from state security, state stability to regime stability, the citizens are more likely to suffer, because then the leader is so frightened by any other opinion, apart from those opinions that are singing his praise, that they tend to crack down on citizens who are having different perspectives. And outside the ECOWAS framework, it will be difficult to deal with their citizens. For now, yes, they have managed to externalize the pressure on them by telling the citizens that the problem is not us, the problem is our other African brothers with Western influence. And that is normal with this kind of military regimes. When they face economic problems, they want to put the pressure off themselves and blame the international system and structures. And that is quite normal. So what we are seeing here is a regime that under pressure, and that has seen Eastern or Russian support as an antidote to Western influence. And it, of course, it's not always the solution.
There are some who think that they are right. Russia certainly has its own interests, but they are also willing to provide certain things that they cannot get. Although the question is, can Russia be trusted? I know that they recently promised some grain to Burkina Faso and I think the Central African Republic, and it's not clear whether that grain ever got delivered. Putin himself is quite limited in his movements. Various countries he cannot visit because, he's actually wanted. Can, African countries with unrest, political unrest, trust Russia to deliver on its promises?
Of course, so far as they have their interest, so far as they will have access to those lucrative deals. In fact, the point is that if you take Russia, you take any superpower, they do what they do. They are not coming to help you because they like you. There's no free lunch in the international system. Countries look after their own interests. So what is happening here is that instead of signing the deal with Western countries who virtually operate the same system with us, they are virtually going to sign the deal with the Russians. So, for instance, if you look at how they pay for the mercenaries, it's like they provide the security, and in turn they get the lucrative deals. Either it is in Central African Republic, it is in Mali, or in Mozambique. It's the same operation that they do. They provide security in return for mining rights. So it is not the case that we should trust them. You can't trust any of the superpowers when superpower rivalry is concerned, because countries have permanent interests, not permanent friends. At a point when their interest does not align with yours, they may dish you for any other country, particularly Russia, where their president is bent on this achieving what he thinks is a global influence for himself. What will happen is that he will continue to support those leaders that he thinks share his views. But then it undermines the whole country in the sense that it doesn't allow for other centers of power or voice to be heard. So all that we are going to have is the re-emergence of dictatorship within the sub-region prompted by Russian forces or Russian mercenaries. Indeed, if you look at this group, Russia itself outlawed mercenaries within their domestic law. And the reason why they are using this group is to actually absolve themselves from any international backlash. So, for instance, if they commit human rights violations, if they do things that are not acceptable, Russia could simply say that it is not the state of Russia So, and it's this kind of game that they are playing. So if the person from the word go is playing this kind of game, it is dangerous, as it were, to trust such an actor within the international setting. Yes, of course, you may have your own reservation about Western influence, but the best you can trust is maybe your fellow West African neighbors who are in the same situation with you. So if you are going to put all your eggs in the Russian basket, thinking that they are a better alternative to the West, I'm afraid it will not be a better alternative to the West. It's the same old story. It is the same old story of giving your resource away at cut prices and getting nothing for it.
Yeah. Final question, Dr. Hlovor. I mean, what you've described is obviously the same old neocolonialism with a military force to back it. My question is this. Ghana has porous borders. Ghana has unrest in the north. Ghana has a poorly regulated mining sector with Galamsey and everything. Should Ghana be worried about the growing influence of Wagner and Russia in countries surrounding us?
Yes, of course, we should be worried. We should be worried because we ourselves have tried all manner of strategies to fight Galamsey. And it is easy for them, as they are around, to send people across the border to even engage in the Galamsey that we are trying to fight. And it's still the group being around itself is not the problem. It is how we govern ourselves. And remember how all this insurgency and this terrorist activities in the South emerged. It emerged within the context of economic discontent, within the context of political discontent, when people become disenchanted about the nation, about the state, the ability of the state to deliver on livelihoods, on basic amenities. So we must actually be concerned by their presence, but we must be more concerned about our own ability to manage ourselves and help people to live a meaningful life. It is when people are desperate, when people are deprived of basic necessities of life, that they can be recruited by these groups and to foment trouble for you. So yes, we should be concerned generally with security situation in West Africa and the presence of Wagner, because we have certain attributes in our own nation, i.e. a growing level of unemployment, particularly among the youth, graduate unemployment. We have situation in communities where they don't have access to water. And terrorist groups and these kind of groups are smart in the way they do their operation. They go to those communities as redeemers and gradually provide those social services. Now, then they, over time, win the trust of the people over their government. And then that's where the trouble will start from. So it all depends on we maintaining our cohesion as a nation, equipping our security services in terms of intelligence gathering, cooperating with our international partners in terms of how to man our borders more effectively. But more importantly, let us address the issues of our economy, our political system. Political parties must come to consensus so that we don't create a room for disagreement that virtually allow these groups to infiltrate us. Because every time they want to, even if Russia intends to take a foothold in Ghana, in these allies within Ghanaians, they don't impose it on us. There should be somebody who is discontent. There should be somebody who feels that the current structure is not acceptable or is not working for the person, and therefore we welcome any help to foment trouble for us. So as I said, democracy should work for the people. Of course, we have made a lot of strides in Ghana, but still we realize that there are major issues with our governance setup, our governance system. It's not delivering for majority of the people. So it is those things that are more important for us as we confront this situation within the sub-region. Right. And of course, we should also work hard to bring these three nations back to the framework of ECOWAS.
Right, right. I want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Ishmael Hlovor.
A quick one.
Yes.
Hello? Yes. So actually, I'm at the University of Education, Winnipeg, not Winnipeg.
Oh, forgive me. That's my mistake. We appreciate the correction. Dr. Ishmael Hlovor is international relations analyst and a lecturer at University of Education, Winnipeg. We appreciate your time.